Hello! Hello lovely people, my name is Sally and I work for my family business, printmybook.com, and I wanted to make this video to talk to you about how to write a family history book. So October is actually Family History Month, and yes, that's the thing, and you know, the days are getting shorter, we're all going to be spending more time indoors over the next few months. That might give you the opportunity to research your family history and maybe even transform it into a book that you can then share with future generations. And we have printed a lot of these books over the years, so we have some tips for you about how best to do it. Think about what you'd like your family history book to look like. Have you seen a book that maybe you really liked and you know you'd like to replicate that then for your family? Or maybe you saw one that was so and you know could have been done better. And you should use these books as kind of a guide for you. Think about what people, events, stories, documents, maybe research that other family members have done that you want to include in your book. Luckily there's like zero rules about what a family history book should look like or what should be included, so you can kind of let your creativity go wild here, which is really nice. There's two parts to planning your family history, and the first part is the scope. It is so important that you plan the scope of your book. Scope essentially means the extent or the range of what you're going to include and what you're going to leave out of your book. So if you're going very far back into your past, like more than 4 generations, you will probably have like facts and you know documents about those ancestors, but not really any personal stories or even pictures of them. So in order to kind of flesh out that area of your family history, it would be really useful to do some research about the period to give those documents and facts a bit of context. Whereas if you're focusing on generations closer to you, you'll probably have pictures and personal stories about those ancestors. That is what I mean by scope. Kind of determines the amount of work that you need to do or what type of work you need to do. The point is that you need to pick a realistic scope for your book. The second part of planning your family history book is the style. So there's 2 different types of styles. The first type is what I would call the reference style. So it's a collection of photos, documents, a summary of your research, and basically you can open the book at any part and you know read a few pages and then flip to another part and read another few pages. There's nothing stringing it together, if that makes sense. Whereas the second style then is more of a narrative, like a novel, where there's a beginning and an end. And often the best family history books actually combine those 2 styles together. So if you can manage it, I would recommend aiming for that type of style. Down here is Minnie, our dog, and she's helping me with filming today. So there's Minnie chilling out on the mat, making sure everything's going well. Yeah, Min? Hello. Say hi to everyone. Okay, back to the filming. Good girl. So once you've decided on the scope and the style of your book, it's time to gather all of that research that you've done about your family. And I would actually recommend something like index cards to make the outline of your book. So you know, just write down each bit of research on a card, lay them out in the order you think you'd like them to go in, and you know, see if it makes sense. You can move index cards around, you can take cards out, you can add other cards in until you are happy with the outline for your book. And it is kind of time consuming, but I actually think it saves time in the long run because it prevents you possibly rewriting sections of the book at a later date. Your book's audience is going to be your family, your friends, and future family researchers, really. So when writing, it's important to think of what is the most important and interesting information for them. And that can be hard to be objective about, but I suppose a question to ask yourself to get those juices flowing is, what was the most interesting and important information for you when you went to research your family history? And maybe that can guide you then through what to put in your book. We would really recommend that you write your book in something like Microsoft Word or Pages if you're using a Mac. And as you are writing, decide on the photos and documents you want to illustrate your book. However, it's really important that you keep the text and the photos separate from each other. We really don't recommend trying to design your book in a word processing program like Microsoft Word or Pages. And I'll explain more why that's important later. In the meantime, just note in your manuscript what photo or document you want to go where as you're writing your book. As for the photos and documents then, if you have the ability to be able to scan them in a high resolution, then that is great, do it yourself, and just save them in a folder on your computer. However, if you're not able to scan them, you can bring them to us. We'll scan them for you, no problem, and organise them as well. We would always recommend at the very minimum that you have your book proofread by either a friend who is completely detail obsessed or else a professional proofreader. There is literally nothing worse than having a printed book that you've spent months labouring over only to find spelling mistakes in it. Also, if you're really struggling with the writing of your book, actually talking to a professional editor could be really helpful for you too, in the sense that they don't just edit books, they can also help you with the outline and revising the content to make it all flow better. So that's just something to keep in mind too. Family history books are usually complex illustrated books, and they really need design beyond what Microsoft Word or Pages can offer. For book design, publishers normally use multiple software programs from the Adobe Creative Suite, like InDesign, Photoshop, etc. So we would really recommend that you work with a graphic designer on the layout and design of your book. Unless you are a graphic designer, of course. And if you're not, that's okay. We have 4 graphic designers here who can help you do it. So there you have it, 5 tips to help you write your family history book. The final step of your family history book is to publish it. To publish, you just need a printing service and also possibly a way to distribute. And luckily for you, we do both. Printing has actually been in our family since 1901. So we've seen it all, done it all, bought the t-shirt. We have printers here who can print your book, make it, and if you need it, we also have an online distribution service. Ultimately, the message I'm trying to get across here is that no author does it all alone. You need to decide what your skills are, and for the areas that you don't have those skills, either get support from your family, your friends, or experts. Good editing and professional design will help you create a bookstore quality family history book that you will be proud to share with your family. Happy writing!